The battle of censorship. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed we would have to yap about it in some other shape and form again? It's like the Kingdom Hearts 4-way. It's never going to end. But when it comes down to it, though, we do have reason to talk about it because women wants to be controlling yet again. But in all seriousness, though, recently, and by recently, I think yesterday, there was a game called No Mercy. Not WWF No Mercy or WWE. I don't remember the name of the game. But when it comes down to it, it's not that game. It's No Mercy, the slap a woman No Mercy game. That's the game that we gotta talk about. And essentially, what ended up happening was that a bunch of women came together, saw this game, and said, oh hell no, this bitch need to get banned. And they end up actually just getting that game removed off of Steam. High key kind of sucks, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Granted, was it something I'm gonna play? No, I could care less. It's not the type of thing that I would go out and just straight up play. You know, like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind playing like an ecchi game or like a hentai game straight up, like it was like for some damn, Fredina's nightclub. I'll be here for it. But something like this where it's just like absolutely, a visual novel, and honestly, to me personally, it's not necessarily that great. Not necessarily something I would just jump into. But still, that doesn't necessarily mean that the shit should just go away because, oh, abusive to women, how dare you, and all that type of stuff when it's pixels on the screen. Women in gaming, which is not necessarily the greatest group on the planet, considering that they have been getting funded by, I think, Blizzard, which, yeah. And then at the very same time, I think they're also a part of like, or at least have like ties to like Catholic belief and stuff like that. And you kind of already know where that's gonna basically go. And again, it's not the type of game I would sit here and play. It's really not necessarily something I would care for, if I'm being honest. That being said, everything kind of, I feel like for the most part, has a good justification of just being here, right? And what this basically boils down to is, once again, that bitch made censorship. That is essentially all of what this is. It's just censorship, plain and simple, just like your fat ass wife when it comes down to her being too much of a damn eater. She's just fat as hell, plain and simple. Now, when it comes down to this whole situation, the reason why it's pretty damn important to kind of just talk about it and list it out like this is mainly because you have so many other things that exist. Once again, so many other things that you could look at that's easily also bannable, like 50 Shades of Grey, or Game of Thrones, or plenty of other things that is, very much controversial as hell when it comes down to it. And then just, it stays alive and it stays doing what it do. But then when you get something like this, it's like, oh, this is too much. Which I can only assume because it's a smaller project and it's a smaller game or whatever. That's the reason why. And you know how internet assholes like to be, or just people in general like to be. If it's something that they think they can control the situation of, they will hoe it. And that is ultimately how it is. It's unfortunate, but that's just essentially how these stupid ass groups can be at times, right? They could just hoe things because they want to hoe things because they hoe themselves. Because let's be absolutely real for 5 seconds. If this was a GTA, I promise you, these people would be absolutely cooked by Tencent, by Rockstar, and literally be having a Nintendo situation go around, being some Nintendo ninjas doing some dirty work. That is ultimately what this would essentially do, or they'll just straight up ignore them, or just put them in the game, like GTA has made fun of people before when it comes to, controversial things in games. But they're not going to do that because they know they're not going to win that battle. GTA's too damn big. Things like that is just too damn big. So they go for these smaller games, these smaller little, things that no one really cares about or thinks about, and it's just like, oh, so that's what you want to do. That's your bum ass tactic. And what's worse about the situation is that Steam, or at least the developer, unfortunately, kind of had no choice but to, or felt like they had no choice but to essentially just give up the ghost. Let the game kind of just, dip off on the Steam store. And it sucks. It sucks so much. It genuinely reminds me of that one game, I think Andy and Lele, or whatever the hell the girl's name is called, when it comes down to it, because it's just like, oh, how people were tripping about the whole incest angle, because it's like, oh yes, it's one ending that is probably not even canon, right? And ultimately, people got pissed off about that to the point they bullied the shit out of the developer to basically not be so open and happy about their game anymore. And it's so shit. It is baffling how people are like this, and especially again to fictional effing characters, because let's look at this whole ass game with No Mercy. Congratulations, women in gaming, you did literally effing nothing. You didn't protect a single woman from actually getting real life abuse at all. Now Karen over there is still getting slapped around by her husband like it's basically just an average Tuesday. You've done effectively nothing. That is essentially what this whole damn thing just is. So congrats, little Susie over there does not appreciate you because you didn't help her save her from her own ass abusive dad. It is what it is. Literally, there is so many times people go about, oh, it's fictional, it hurt my feelings. Bitch, life hurts your feelings, not games. When it comes down to it, the only reason as to why we keep seeing this happen over and over, because at least in my mind, is that people just want control. They want to control everything of what we do and everything that is out there, even though for a lot of these mature games, you're a mature adult. You should not be babified when it comes down to what you want to play or what you want to do and all that type of stuff. You should be able to consume whatever content, have the mental maturity to actually know, hey, this is fictional content, let's not take this into the real world, and just kind of do what you need to do without going absolutely crazy over seeing someone in GTA run over people in Vespucci Beach, and then so you decide to go out in real life to do the same damn thing. You don't, it's so dumb. It is so bafflingly dumb, and it doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. And I said this again, but I'll say this one more time. I don't need, or anybody else don't need a video game to tell them to go murder somebody, or at least have the will to do so. They don't need a damn anime to go through to go and clap somebody's cheeks non-consensually, or even in a worser way of someone that's underage. You don't need a piece of media to go and tell you to do the worst damn thing, because ultimately it comes up to your decisions and what you want to do. If that's something you decide to do, then ultimately you're gonna have to pay for the consequences of what happens. We don't want anybody to obviously do anything evil and messed up. We don't need anybody to do any more evil than the world's already kind of letting happen anyway. But when it comes down to it, you don't need a piece of media to just tell you, hey, maybe this is a bad thing, maybe you shouldn't go ahead and do it, and then you proceed to do it anyway. You don't need anything to tell you that, because ultimately you decide for yourself if that's something terrible that you want to do or not, which hopefully the answer would be no for a lot of people. I would imagine and hope so. You got some really demented people as well, right? But hopefully for most people the answer will be no, I don't want to do the bad thing, right? Then again, you get dumbasses like John Somali that's out there just being absolutely dickish for no damn reason, and honestly is paying for the consequences like the bitch he is, and that's just ultimately how it goes. And then it's also like annoying when games like this get censored or anime gets censored or whatever, and essentially people oftentimes go through things like this in real life, and then ultimately you get people like Women in Gaming or whatever, these groups to come in to act like, oh yes, this is something, you know, very serious, but we should not have it in our games. But then regularly, no one really wants to talk about these type of subjects because of how harsh it is and all that type of stuff, or it has to be handled in a certain way, and sometimes it still doesn't get the point across. That's why we have games. That's why you have anime, to kind of help put those ideas out there. Whether you like it being done in a certain way or not, it still at least has a conversation to be had there, because I highly doubt your regular news media or your regular TV show is gonna sit there and talk about someone being, you know, sexually abused in some shape or form, and they're not gonna just do that because it's just too uncomfortable, and that's a conversation they don't want to have. And then you get people, they get pissed off because Final Fantasy 16 did the same thing with Jill and the kids that was in that game in her whole, you know, territory of what happened during her time, and then think, oh, that shouldn't be included, that shouldn't be talked about, I wish we never had that. But then when is it going to be brought up? How can you bring it up if no one wants to bring it up in the first damn place? It's an uncomfortable truth that exists. You can't necessarily sit here and ignore that shit, especially if you're doing a mature story. And if you already have a lot of crazy things happening, why not have that part in there? And you might as well use it to some degree, even if it's not in the best possible way, like it's some, Ultra Despair Girls type beat. Even if you use it to that degree, if it's already a mature game, you might as well just be free and open to a lot of the crazy ideas that you could use, right? Even if it's something that a lot of people don't necessarily agree with, if you don't like it, don't pay. Don't pay for it. Don't play the game. Don't really, give it any type of promotion whatsoever. If you really don't like that game, then let the game starve out and die when it comes down to it. Kind of like how I'm feeling, because I'm mad hungry right now. But when it comes down to it though, if you don't like it, let the shit, basically stagnate by itself. And then the people that is going to like it and enjoy it, let them enjoy that shit, right? And it's just so weird. It genuinely is. Again, so many other different pieces of media, especially in the West, and it's usually these controlling ass women that wants to come through, and these very supportive feminists that wants to come through and basically change the landscape and all of this type of stuff. And tons of people be like, oh, this is really just you being misogynistic as hell. You just want to, kick these women out the gaming industry and in the gaming space and all that type of stuff. Hell no. If you're a random chick and you just want to have an enjoyment in the industry and have fun doing what you do and, work on these sort of projects, perfectly fine. But don't be a bitch ass and try to control literally everything like it's your household. It is not your household. It's really not. Literally leave people alone, and that's just how it is. Let people cook the shit they want to cook. If you want to have a game like No Mercy to exist out there, then let the damn game exist. It is what it is, whether you like it or not. Like, damn, nobody wants domestic violence or anything like that. Not in the real world. But with people making decisions like this, it makes you want to slap a bitch. Too far? Maybe? I don't know. We'll keep this in just in case anyways. But to keep this very much a stack, if you don't like a game, don't play it. If you don't want to necessarily see it succeed, then don't pay for it. If I'm gonna be absolutely honest, you wanna know the reason why a lot of AAA games have been failing, at least in the West, is because they keep including stuff that a lot of people don't care for. A lot of people don't really want to see. It's ultimately, that's the reason why. And when you include those things, people will vote with their wallet and basically just be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'd rather not. I don't feel like seeing the 50,000 transgender character in the game that didn't need it at all today. Like, I don't feel like I need to see that shit. If you really want to sit there and silence something, then obviously seeing people not enjoy the game or not paying for it or things like that, that is how typically it should be fought. And not necessarily just trying to force something out because, oh, you're offended because a random white character, I guess, or something like that, got beat up in the corner and then just got milk poured on their head or something like that. Right? If something is offensive to you, there's plenty of things that you can do, which you don't necessarily have to see the content that you don't like. You can obviously block in a whole bunch of other stuff, like ignore it, and many things like that. And when you come out with this type of approach to basically just be like, yeah, F this game and everybody that played it, and try to brute force it, all it's going to do is going to make people be like, you know what? I'll give it a go, and then decide to make their own game like that, and then just make it a successful game, and then there's not really going to be much that this women in gaming group is going to be able to do. All I'm saying is though, if I ever decided to make a game with my characters, I'm not going to sit here and lie, that shit's going to have to be forced to be taken down. I'm not taking down shit. Everybody's going to get to see some symphony to this today. That's just how it is. But ultimately, that is, I guess, all I really wanted to say for this one. Really, because again, I just hate the whole censorship thing, because obviously you put one thing in censorship hell, everything else is gonna start falling, and then it's gonna be like, well, what's the limit to that? Is it gonna be, anime? Is it gonna be, more games? Is it going to be education? Then, religion and stuff of the sort like that, history itself. You never really know where things like this can absolutely go outside the fact that it could always end up being bad, and that's essentially what no one really should be aiming for, right? So ultimately, that is my take on the whole subject of things. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, which if you are my audience, pretty much I should already know what you're gonna say. But when it comes down to it, that's all I got to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also on the socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's me, Voyager, sign off. Have a blessed day.